Ms. Dethman, will you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell both your first and last name?
Susan Dethman. Susan is S-U-S-A-N, and Dethman is D-E-T-H-M-A-N.
Ms. Dethman, how are you related to Collin Griffith?
I'm his maternal grandmother.
So your daughter was Kathy Griffin?
Yes, ma'am.
Griffith, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So give the jury a little bit of an idea of who the other members of your family are. Who was Kathy's father?
Robert Willantis.
Were you married at some point to Robert Willantis?
Yes, we were married for 19 years.
When did you divorce?
We divorced in 1998.
After you divorced Robert Willantis, did you get remarried?
Yes, I did.
Who did you get remarried to?
Inaki Markovich.
Okay, and might need to spell that last name for the court report.
M-A-R-K-E-V-I-T-C-H.
Ms. Dethman, who are your children from your marriage to Robert Willantis?
John Paul Willantis, Kathy Willantis Griffith, and Christy Willantis Rooney.
Did you list them in ascending order of age, youngest to oldest?
I've been youngest to oldest.
Yeah, okay. Do you have another child?
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
Kevin Markovich.
And that's from your marriage to Mr. Markovich?
Yes.
Now, Kathy, obviously Collin was Kathy's son. Did she have any other children?
Yes, she had an older son. He's still alive, Christopher Ray Griffith.
Okay. How old is he?
He is 24.
I want to ask you a few questions about Robert Willantis, your ex-husband. When you divorced in 1998, who got custody of your 3 children with him?
I did.
And since 1998, has Robert Willantis been a big part of your life?
No, except for the custody battles we went through.
What about, are you aware of his relationship with any of the 3 children that you had with him?
He didn't have a relationship once he was not granted custody of John Paul. He didn't want Kathy, considered Kathy to be damaged goods. He only sued for John Paul.
Okay, but what was his relationship like with his children after the divorce?
He didn't have a relationship at all until Kathy divorced and she reached out to her dad.
When did Kathy divorce her husband and the father of Collin and Christopher?
2019, if I remember correctly. It was like December of 2019 when they filed. And I think it took a couple months for the divorce to actually take place.
Okay. Now, we saw pictures of Robert Willantis on a trip with Kathy.
Yes.
Tell the jury about that trip, what you know about it.
So Kathy wanted to meet the biological Robert's mother, the biological grandmother, because Kathy had many medical problems. So she asked me, she said, Dad said he'll take me to California to meet his mom. They lived in Anaheim. The mom lived in Anaheim, California, but you'll have to pay for it. And I said, okay. I said, just please try not to do anything too expensive. And I'll see what points I can use for the hotels. And fly over there. You guys don't need to rent a car. You can use your dad's car if it can make it to California. If not, then we'll get a rental car.
So, Ms. Dethman, did you in fact pay for Kathy to go on this trip with Robert Willantis?
Yes. I paid for all the food, all the hotels, Disneyland, all of that.
And when was that trip?
That was before she got Collin back.
Okay. So before 2023?
Yes.
After 2019, though?
And after COVID was over with.
Okay.
So I believe it was 2022.
Are you aware of any other trips like that Robert took with his other two children?
No. He didn't really have communication with them.
All right. So I want to ask about Kathy's such a thing for Kathy.
Yes, we had a celebration of life right here at the funeral home in Lakeland.
Was she actually buried or was she cremated?
No, she was cremated. She had conveyed to her sister and brothers that she never wanted. Under the water in Key Largo.
Has that been done?
No, we're going to do that this summer.
Where are Kathy's ashes right now?
Right now they're at Christy's house.
Was Robert Willantis invited to the celebration of life?
No, he was not.
Why not?
Robert tends to.
Okay. It's not your television, my friends, your phone or your laptop, however you're watching this morning. It is the courtroom audio. The courtroom audio. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? Just wanted to make a quick connection. So on Friday, this is what's really interesting. On Friday, we saw Kathy's dad testifying for the state. A really powerful witness, Robert Willantis. You're hearing him talked about. This witness, Susan, Kathy's mother, was married to him. No longer together, and interestingly, she's a defense witness for her grandson, Collin. So much more is set to come. Stay right where you are. We'll take a break and go back in the courtroom together.
So I'm gonna kill her, and then I want to kill her.
Do you?
A troubled teen who fatally shot his own father.
Now stands accused for the murder of his mother.
I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer.
Was it an argument that led to a tragic accident?
Or a fit of rage that ended in cold-blooded murder?
Everybody that's special to him in his life is dead.
The Deadly Son murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
She thinks I'm gonna kill her, and then I want to kill her.
The defendant viciously and savagely unleashed his full fury and hatred towards his mother.
And I just seen an arm come out and grab her by the shoulder.
She said, "They go in my hair. You're hurting me."
I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer. I'm just trying to peacefully leave or peacefully coexist.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. This morning we're bringing you the deadly son murder trial of Collin Griffith. He's 17 years old, accused of murdering his mother, Kathy. He claims it was imperfect self-defense. They got into a fight. He was defending himself, but claims that the terrible knife wound, the knife that pierced her throat, happened because she accidentally fell on it. Now, just months before his mother's death, we know that he killed his father. He said that was in self-defense when he shot his own dad. The charges were initially filed against him and then dropped. We'll see if that case gets reopened because of this one. Let's go back in now where the victim's mom is on the stand. So this is the defendant's grandma, victim Kathy's mom, Susan. And she was just talking about her estranged ex, Mr. Robert Willantis, who's Collin's grandpa, who was a great witness for the state on Friday. And she's saying that he wasn't invited to Kathy's celebration of life.
Kathy was very adamant that she wanted Robert to take care of me, that I needed to pay for his flight from New Mexico to Lakeland, get a hotel for him for 2 weeks, and get some sort of a car and even pay for his food. And I told Kathy, I said, that's ridiculous. He hates me. I don't want to be hurt by him. Plus, he has lost his nursing license. I want a real nurse that has...
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to just object to all of these collateral accusations.
Ms. Dethman, as a result of you not wanting to follow Kathy's wishes as far as Robert Wolantis coming here and taking care of you, did that cause a break in communication between you and Kathy?
Yes, she refused to talk to me. She blocked my phone. She told me if I came over to the house, she would have me arrested for trespassing. She said, you can contact Collin, but you can't contact me.
And that, okay, I'll move on from this. Mr. Wolantis on the stand mentioned that Kathy got Collin a second phone, and that must have been what Collin used to talk with Mr. Wolantis on the phone every week or every other week. Tell the jury what you know about a second phone.
The second phone, I purchased the second phone when Collin came to live with me in the January-February time period, the first time she threw him out. And I couldn't leave a kid in the double wide by himself without a phone. Plus, since I didn't live...
Hold on. Why didn't Collin have a phone with him when he went to live with you in January of 2024?
Because Collin and I were at the Mexican restaurant in Port Charlotte. Kathy and Collin and I were supposed to go. When I got there, Kathy said, no, I don't want to go. And I said, come on, at least have some nachos or something. No, I don't want to go. And I said, can I take Collin with me? Sure. So while we were at the Mexican restaurant, she called me and she said, don't bring Collin back. I never want to see you or Collin again.
And the phone that Collin had at that point, where was it?
It was at Kathy's house.
Okay, so you brought Collin to
the double wide in Arbondale, and I didn't even have internet because, of course, I wasn't there all the time. So if I needed to, I'd hotspot my computer. I didn't want an extra expense for internet or cable or any of that. And so I realized I couldn't leave Collin here without a phone. So I told him, I said, we're going to have to go to AT&T and get a phone for you. And I even got a 786 area code because that's the area code that I have in the keys.
And that second phone, did Collin have possession of it from January of 2024 all the way up until September of 2024?
No. He only had possession of it for that small amount of time from when he came to, which would have been, it was either the end of January, the beginning of February. He had possession of it there. And then when he left, he took it, and I immediately got it by that weekend.
Okay, I'm actually going to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit number 16 and see if you recognize it.
Okay, so while she looks at that exhibit, I want to bring in our law enforcement analyst guest, retired FBI special agent and the host of Break the Case, Jennifer Coffenduffer, on the show with us. Jen, good morning to you. Give us your assessment of this case, please. The state resting, now it's the defense's turn, and now we've got a split here between Grandma and Grandpa when it comes to this case and where they stand regarding Collin and their daughter, the victim. What are you thinking?
Well, right now, I'm really just assessing point by point this mother's testimony. And Julie, from the moment she started testifying, her eye contact was so poor. She was looking down as if she was reading to even say the names of her children, which I found very odd. And then as she continues to testify, you can sort of see, in my opinion, the anger seething from her, not only against her ex-husband, but also against her daughter. And then I think surprising, the defense attorney describes how they had no relationship. In other words, her relationship with her daughter was estranged. And so I think it's really turning this trial in terms of any credibility to this witness.
Yeah, I love your analysis, Jen. This is great. I stand by here. We're going to watch and see what she says after she's looking at this document. Apparently, the defense is trying to show her some text messages from January of 2024. She's saying she doesn't recognize them. Take a look.
So the blue message on top talks about Kathy just having been released from the ER for an accidental overdose. Was that one of the times that she had had a suicide attempt?
Yes.
So the phone that you bought for Collin in either January or February of 2024, and I'm sorry if you already answered this, but he didn't keep that after the brief period that he lived with you then, did he?
He went home with it, and I had it back on the weekend.
Okay, so shortly after he went back home to Kathy.
Yes.
So Kathy, it sounds like off and on had estrangement from various family members.
Yes.
You mentioned that you and she didn't speak for quite some time after your cancer diagnosis. Had she cut other members of the family off at other times in her life?
Her and John Paul were not speaking.
Do you know why?
Yes. She got mad at his wife because the house wasn't clean to her standard. And she said, I'm going to call DHS, which in our state is Child Protective Services, that Isabella was not taken care of, that she was in danger, something. I know DHS ended coming up to John Wolantis' house. Of course, the investigation proved that there wasn't a problem, and John just said, I will never have anything to do with her again. She crossed the line.
Any other family estrangements from Kathy besides you and her brother John?
So Kevin and Kathy were supposed to go to Washington, D.C. together.
Kevin is your son with
Yes, and Kevin
Inaki.
and Kathy were pretty close. They were supposed to go to Washington, D.C. together because Kevin was in officer basic training in Virginia for the Florida National Guard. He just graduated from college, and he had time off during the 4th of July. And Kathy said, it'd be great if Collin and I could meet up with John Paul in Washington, D.C.
Do you mean Kevin or?
Kevin, I'm sorry, Kevin would meet up. I was supposed to go because, of course, my cancer, I couldn't.
Miss Wolantis, I'm sorry. I know you're nervous, but the estrangement,
Yes.
how that
So what
occurred.
happened is Kathy contacted Kevin and said, unless you help me get your father arrested, meaning Inaki Markovich, I don't want you coming to Washington, D.C. with me.
Do you know what Kathy was referring to as far as helping her get your husband arrested?
Yes, they had an altercation in our farm in Arcadia during COVID, so it was during 2020. around Easter time. It was before Easter. She threatened him with a baseball bat, and she said she was going to get her gun and shoot him. And my husband brought a shotgun out and said, I have a shotgun here. We're not going to be doing this. And later, she said that he used the shotgun, fired the shotgun. And I said, it was a double wide. I think I would know if a shotgun had been fired in the ceiling in a double wide.
Okay. So after that interaction between Kathy and Kevin, were they estranged from each other for a while?
Yes.
But it sounds like she would.
Okay, so a couple things here. I want to acknowledge something. Me and my colleagues here, as we're watching this, we want to know if you're thinking it's confusing. We're all thinking the same thing here. I think this attorney needs to be a bit clearer when she's asking names. Well, who is this person? What is the relationship? It's very hard to keep track of who Kevin is and all this stuff and all of this family drama. The point is, though, the point that is getting, muddied up with all of this is that they're trying to use Kathy's mother here to bring out these suicide attempts and show instability with Kathy. So the defense team is going after the victim, using the victim's own mother to do it in this case where she has been stabbed to death. And we know the defense theory is that this was an accidental stabbing. The Commonwealth theory, or the state of Florida theory rather, that it was very much intentional and very much premeditated. Let me bring back in retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jen, your analysis always so great, and I couldn't get it out of my head as I was watching her, and you were saying the eye contact is so poor. You're right. It's almost like she even does this eye blocking. She answers and she closes her eyes, and she blinks rapidly in succession here, definitely appearing nervous. Do you think this is effective, what the defense is trying to do with her?
I don't think it's effective. It comes off to me as victim shaming. No matter who this person was, if she was struggling from mental health crisis or issues, to me, that doesn't mean she deserved to be stabbed in the neck, which is the foundation we have medically as to what happened. In addition, when you look at the statements she's making, it does seem to be motivated by anger toward these family members, including the victim. And that's really concerning, I think, and I think the jury will pick up on it.
Oh, that's sharp analysis, Jen. I think you're exactly right. There's a bitterness with her, and it's coming out. And I love what you said about victim shaming, because, when it's time for the cross, I'm sure the state's going to get up there and say, well, what did you do with the first suicide attempt? That's your daughter. Did you go to help her? Did you intercede? Did you take measures to get her on the right track? Yeah, I think they're opening up a bad door here. It's not going to bode well for them. Agent Coffindaffer, stand by for more cues, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we'll go back to Florida. Hit us up on social media in the meantime. Let us know what you think about this case against Collin Griffith.
I struggle with a kid that's being released from jail and saying, if you bring me back there, she's gonna die.
If we don't do something,
shame on us.
Yeah, then we're not.
Shame on us that we didn't do our job and we failed you. And I'm not failing you.
Well, it's really eerie looking back on that now. They're talking about Kathy Griffith. They were worried for her safety, and rightfully so. Now she is dead, and her son, the young boy they were afraid of, is on trial accused of her murder. Let's go back into the courtroom. His grandma is on the stand. Kathy's mom is testifying as a defense witness here, talking all about her various suicide attempts and the problems that she had. Let's see if this is going to go well for the defense. Let's go back in.
Kind of change her mind about who she was close with or wanted to have communication with. Is that?
Yes, because she called Kevin the next day and said, I'm sorry, come on to Washington, D.C. with us. And Kevin said, I already told my cadre, my leave's been canceled.
Okay. Are you aware of threats that Kathy had made to commit suicide?
Yes.
How many are you aware of, if
I'm
you know?
aware of 5.
Okay.
No, 6.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 14. See if you recognize this.
Yes, I do.
I'd like to admit Defense Exhibit 14 into evidence, please.
Objection. No objection, Judge. It will be received.
What is this exhibit?
I wasn't sure if Kathy showed that to me. I wasn't sure if it was blood or a magic marker because I didn't see it physically. She said that it had something to do with a song she was listening to. And she was upset because of the divorce.
And you can't quite see it now, but did you see a video of, so you can see the triangle for play. Had you seen the actual video of this?
Yes.
In it, can you see what's written on the left side of Kathy's arm? I mean, you can't see it right now, but do you remember what it said?
I don't remember what it said because it was just so horrific that that she was doing this to herself.
I'm coming up here, so don't forget to give it to the clerk. Have you actually called law enforcement on occasion when Kathy made suicidal statements to you?
Yes.
All right, so you said you know of about 6 threats. What about actual attempts by Kathy to kill herself? Or was that the 6 and I misunderstood?
Those were the 6 attempts.
Okay. Can you describe some of those for the jury?
Yes. So the first one was while she was still married, and she was very upset, and she had overdosed on her trazamine, and she told me, I was in Key Largo, and she lived in Key Largo at the time, and I said, I'm going to have to take you in right now to emergency room. You're going to die. And she said, no, I'm not going in.
Ms. Dethman, it's okay. You don't have to give all of those details. That's all right. I understand. So that was one attempt. What about other attempts that you're aware of?
So the second attempt was when she was in Port Charlotte. I had to go over the fence and open the sliding glass door, and she was in her bed, all dressed in black, and with a revolver in her hand.
And had she done anything with any medications that time?
Yes, she had overdosed on the oxycodone.
Did she end up going to the hospital that time?
Yes.
Any other attempts that you remember?
Yes. There was another attempt with oxycodone again about 4 months later. Then there was an attempt with medication and Everclear. The second attempt, she went back to the emergency room and was admitted, radioactive. The third time, when I called Port Charlotte police, they got there and said she appears fine to me. If she wants to drink in her own house, that there's nothing we can do. And then the most recent time was just in August of this year, August 21st. She called me and said she had overdosed on metoprolol, her heart and blood pressure medication, because the other ones didn't work. So she said, I did that. And I said, have Collin take you to the ER. No, I don't want to go. Have Collin take you. Finally, I talked Collin into taking her to the emergency room.
So, to your knowledge, Collin was home when she overdosed and actually had to drive her to the emergency room in August of 2024.
Yes.
You mentioned that Kathy had been Baker acted. Was that more than one time?
Yes.
The jury has heard a lot about some things that Kathy claimed that were maybe not true. How would you describe Kathy's reliability or her reputation for truthfulness?
Objection, Your Honor.
Judge, can we go sidebar?
Okay, I'm just going to say frankly, I think this is a hot mess, and I think they're going down a very dangerous road here. Little explainer, if you heard of the Baker Act, okay, this is the Florida Mental Health Act of 1971, which allows for involuntary commitment. I think the lawyer should have explained it instead of saying she was Baker acted, involuntarily committed. They're trying to make the victim seem unhinged. I don't think the jury is going to receive this well at all, considering the way in which the state has already presented the injuries occurred, and they presented strong evidence of premeditation here for Kathy's murder. And now her own mother is talking about all of these suicide attempts and everything that was wrong with her life. Well, I can't wait till the cross and see what Grandma did to help her during all of those instances when she was struggling. We're going to hit a break. We'll be right back with more Court TV Live after this.
It was the biggest story in the world.
People saw the facts differently.
Somebody manufactured evidence in this case.
This was kind of a crazy spectacle.
This case is a circus.
He was an icon.
They are in for the fight of their lives.
Everybody thinks you're guilty.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? A Court TV original series. Premieres February 16th. Only on Court TV.
Back to court we go. In the deadly son murder trial, we've got Collin Griffith's grandmother on the stand. And yes, she's also the mother of the victim, Kathy Griffith. Let's return.
In this text from June 27th of 2024, Kathy says that she was here and pressing charges going to 77 Hewlett Drive. That's your address, correct?
That was the address in Auburndale.
Okay. To check on you and to pick up Inaki for charges of attempted murder and assault against you. Meaning she's claiming that Inaki actually tried to murder you, correct?
Yes.
Is that true?
No. He's never tried to murder me.
So that's something that Kathy threatened and claimed that just simply wasn't true, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Has she done that on other occasions, make things up?
Yes. Yes. She made up that I was diagnosed with Lynch disease, which is it's an auto-recessive disorder where people have to have, they're more prone to cancer. So she said that her insurance company was forcing her to have a hysterectomy because of that. She also told Christy, and Christy was so distraught.
Okay, Ms. Dethman, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. I understand. So she made up that you had a disease that you do not, in fact, have.
No, I verified with my oncologist that I didn't have.
She also made up that John Paul Volantis had been neglecting his child, right?
Yes.
Has she ever made anything up about Robert Volantis?
Yes.
What did she make up about Robert Volantis?
When she was younger, she said that Robert raped her.
And how do you know that that's not true?
It went to court.
Okay.
So I don't know. I only...
Did she ever tell you that she had made it up?
Oh, yes. Later, as an adult, she told me she had made that up.
Did she say why she made it up?
Yes, because she was mad at the situation between Robert and I.
Okay. Has she ever made anything up about her being responsible for everybody else's successes in the family?
Yes. She went as far to say that no one in the family would have any of their degrees, and that she, in fact, the only reason that I got my doctorate was because of her.
Okay. And did she actually make a threat to you regarding this belief she had?
She said she was going to, when she was mad at me one time, she said she was going to contact the university.
Okay, we're noticing something here at Court TV, and I'm sure you're noticing it at home. You notice how the witness gets the question from the lawyer, and then where do her eyes go? Right down to her notes. Agent Jennifer Coffendaffer standing by. I'd like to ask you a question now. Oh, the jury's noticing this, I am sure. What do you think of this lady as you're watching her deliver her answers that are so bad about her daughter? I mean, just saying such terrible things about her.
Well, Julie, whenever you see a witness that can't recount anything from their own memory and have to read a script, it looks just like that, a script. And that her testimony, she just wants to get out very certain items, and she makes sure she writes them down. The other thing that is just glaring is the hearsay. She makes all these statements, heard from this person and this person. I'm not sure why this is even being allowed about half of her testimony, but I think it's burying her.
Right. I think you're so right. I love the point you made about the hearsay, too. You're right. The state should be objecting, and I'm surprised that some of this stuff came in, like this making up a rape allegation. That's essentially what Grandma here is saying about her daughter, that she made this up against her own father. It wasn't true. Why is that even coming in? I'm just surprised this wasn't even dealt with in pretrial motions ahead of time. And then at the end of the day, I wonder if the lawyer is trying so desperately to make this victim look bad and to make her look like she wasn't a victim in the instance that she's actually going to get the jury to dislike this witness.
I agree with you. The witness didn't start out talking about the good things about the victim. That's what you would expect a mother to do, to at least provide some details of some goodness, but it's just a piling on of all these details with absolutely no foundation. I think she comes off as a terrible witness.
I'm with you, Jen. And many of our Cordy friends on Twitter are noticing the looking down at the notes, how she has to check down, and it seems like she's saying more than the lawyer wants her to say. And you're right, the lack of sympathy is so glaring. This whole thing should have started with, you lost your daughter. That must be hard. What's that like? It should have been emotionally getting her to connect with the jury. I don't know what this is.